On today's reaction episode of the Broadway Shuffle, Behren Morton is out for the bowl game against Arkansas. What does this mean for the future of the quarterback position? And what will Will Hammond look like in that game? That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. Okay, guys, we are back. Another reaction episode, our second of the day. Texas Tech football just keeps on giving news here in the hybrid offseason. Technically, we still have a game left, and we're going to get into what that game means now that Behren Morton will be officially out for that game, which means Will Hammond is in and starting. Big news, not so big news, something to worry about for the future of the position. We will get into that now. Zyler, we have actually known about this for a little bit. We were not able to reveal that. Get into that a little bit for our audience and tell them what you knew and why we are not surprised by this news.
Yeah, we've always talked about here on the Broadway Shuffle. We are not sourced like some of the other, tech reporters as well, but we do have some. We do have some sources within the football program, and we actually had an inside scoop for once. It felt like we found out about this last week whenever Behren was going to get surgery. We were dying to talk about it, man. But you knew, just for the to respect the football program, you didn't really want to say a lot about it. But man, what an interesting time for your team right now. Beren's going to be out for the bowl game, obviously, and then he's going to be out for what looks like all of spring ball. They said he's hoping to be back. If you look at what the Lubbock Avalanche Journal said, that they're hoping he'll be back for the start of summer workouts. Man, you're looking at 6-7 month recovery time. That's going to be a pretty serious operation and rehab. Going to be really interesting. Conrad, what are your thoughts kind of on what this means for the bowl game and what you think this means for the position moving forward?
Well, let me just start by saying this. Behren Morton is Texas Tech starting quarterback next year. He is absolutely entrenched as the starter. I don't think he gets this surgery, in my opinion, unless he is guaranteed to start next year, because we do have two very good quarterbacks on this roster. We've got Behren Morton, who's been a very good player for you. We've got Will Hammond, who looked really good for you in one half against TCU and looked good against North Texas as well. But I don't think Behren gets this surgery unless he knows he's the starter, because he's got somebody like that behind him. So for the bowl game, we've mentioned this in previous episodes, I don't really think this is that big of a deal. I think Will Hammond is going to be as prepared as they come for that bowl game. You never know. You don't really know who's playing around him. There's been rumors of Kelly and Taj sitting out and different players sitting out. I don't know what that looks like. What is he going to have around him? Obviously, he's not going to have his friend from his recruiting class on the field with him as well. So in terms of the bowl game, I really don't think it means much. I do think it helps you in terms of Will Hammond getting all the reps in the spring. I mean, he's going to get all of the number one reps. He's going to be very well prepared once he goes out there as your starting quarterback in 2026, Brennan Baxter. So let me just say that unless Behren does get hurt for something happens next year. But obviously it's a good thing that he's getting it fixed. But man, if he can throw for 3,335 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions with a not 100% healthy shoulder and a pretty bad offensive line, what's he going to look like with a fully repaired cannon on that right arm and a massively upgraded offensive line? That's kind of something I'm thinking about right now. Brennan, how do you feel about this? Knowing that, your boy Will Hammond, your best friend, is going to be getting all the reps for bowl practice and all the reps in the spring. How does that make you feel?
Man, before I get into Will and just how much I enjoy watching that kid play football, but I will want to say something about Behren Morton. Kudos to Behren. I got to say, like, his toughness fighting through this season with what looked to be a not healthy shoulder for probably the whole year. I mean, we kind of knew this, I think. When they shut him down last spring, I think there was kind of a silent word throughout the organization and throughout the program that Behren's shoulder probably wasn't where it really could be without getting surgery, but they really didn't have much of an option. Once Shuck left, you're either going to throw out Jake Strong, and you saw how that went, or you're going to throw out a true freshman immediately, and it just wasn't going to go well. Behren, even at 80%, 70%, was your best option at quarterback, and he did have a great year for what he was given on the offensive line and not having a healthy arm. That all being said, it is worrisome for your future if you're Behren Morton, the fact that you are going to miss a significant amount of time. You never know how that shoulder is really going to respond. And knowing that a guy like Will Hammond, who the program has spoken very highly of, who players on this team, one of our interviews, CJ Baskerville, spoke very highly of, is going to get all these reps. And so I think now, especially we're talking about the transfer portal, I think now more than ever, you need to go get someone that can come and fill in a potential backup role that is at least serviceable, not like a Cam Brown type guy, but an actual quarterback. And for Will Hammond, it's exciting because you get to go out in a low risk situation against Arkansas, who also has a ton of transfers, and go show what you're capable of and see. And even if he doesn't play well, like what throws will Will Hammond make a throw where we're like, oh, wow, like that. Could he, chunk 165 yards effortlessly, or a sideline to sideline throw like CJ had mentioned on our show that he was making last spring and summer camp, which I'm sure he's only improved. So I'm disappointed. I wish no ill will towards Behren. He was a great quarterback for you. I don't want to sit here and say that I'm just excited that this has happened. I'm not. I don't think it's the best thing for your program, but I am excited to see what Wonder Kid Will can do and how excited the program and people in the program have talked about him. I mean, it's time to see what he's made of early on in his career. And I don't expect a finished product, but I do expect him to go play well. And I'm excited to see what he's able to do with kind of a limited roster. We're not going to see Taj. We're not going to see Josh. I would assume. I'm pretty confident we're not going to see those guys. I don't know if we'll see Jalen Conyers. Some of your offensive line is already transferred. So it's not going to look pretty. Like, I don't think we should judge Will on this game and be like, that didn't look very good. I mean, he's not going to have like half of who started with Behren this season. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm more curious what the conversation will look like come spring and summer camp. If Will does start performing very well, it'll be interesting. So, Z, thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, truly, the bowl game is like so far down on my list of priorities here. Like, honestly, the biggest priority is making sure that we have at least one scholarship quarterback that can go through spring ball. Because right now you have one, and it's Will. Like, if Will gets hurt in the spring, you have no scholarship quarterbacks to go through the spring. I know there's no case or no chance that this will ever happen, but you're almost like, dude, like maybe we should just sit you out, let Jake Strong get some reps. I know that won't happen, and I want to see Will, but he cannot get hurt in this game. That would be a disaster. You've got, and the other thing that I think is not necessarily working against Behren, but you've got a brand new offensive scheme coming in. And if you listen to Mack Leftwich is the new offensive coordinator, in case you missed it. If you listen to what he talked about, he said a lot of their offense is built on choice routes. And choice routes are where you're giving the receiver and quarterback a lot of freedom. Think a la Kelsey Mahomes, where it's like Kelsey gets to the top of the route and he just kind of breaks whichever way he knows is open. Now, the QB's got to have a lot of chemistry built up and a lot of trust with those receivers in order for that to work. You don't want to be sitting there waiting at the top of his break, seeing where he's going. You need to know so that you can release that ball. Man, Behren's going to have a lot of new receivers. It's going to be a brand new offense, and he's not going to be getting any reps in the spring. That does not help you. The other thing, I've got, the guys that I talk to that are in the program, as soon as Will got here, I didn't hear another thing about Jake Strong. It was immediately Will was essentially the backup. I know there's still a chance that Will's not good, but I think those chances are really, really small. If I'm Behren, you do not want to give somebody like this an opportunity to take all of the spring reps and potentially a lot of the summer reps. I know there's nothing he can do about it, and he had to get this surgery, but sometimes when a guy gets a job or gets an opportunity like this, they don't relinquish it. Now, I'm not saying that he will. I think Behren still deserves to be the starter, and he has every right to be the starter. But man, if Will goes out there and is really, really impressive in the spring and really impressive in the summer, and Behren is still recovering and not necessarily full strength, doesn't have the chemistry with the receivers, doesn't know the scheme as well, has to cram in an offensive scheme in 60 days, like those are going to be hurdles that he is going to have to overcome. Now, granted, he's got a leg up because he's 22, 23. He's older and he's played college football. He knows how to call schemes. He knows how to call protections, different items like that. But you just got to be careful. A young guy gets an opportunity like this. Sometimes they run with it.
Yeah, Conrad, it'll be interesting because what we've heard about Will as well is just the preparation this guy takes. We've heard he's the first
Yeah.
in the building, that he treats himself like a professional. He works out like a professional. He studies film. Like, this guy is football and football only. There's nothing else but football. That's the word around Will Hammond. And so to have a new OC, to Zyler's point, come in, to have a guy like that, you wonder if a connection will be built between two new guys like that. And if Behren might just be behind the 8 ball. I know that Behren's your favorite player on the team, and I really want to get to, on a personal level, what you've just been so affectionate towards Behren this whole season, and it's great. And I am, again, I'm not anti-Behren. I just want our fan base to know that. But I do, want to check on you and see, like, is this news just extremely disappointing to you, or is any part of you excited for what the quarterback future might hold? I mean, you've already stated on this episode alone that Will will be your quarterback in 2026. I mean, I just want to, like, what are your thoughts on that personal side for Behren Morton? And, if you had a eulogy to kind of give to him, what would that be?
Well, I want to invite all of our listeners to go back in time with me. Before August 31st of this year, you had not had a quarterback start all 12 games since Patrick Mahomes. What year was that, Brennan? Do you know what year that was?
2015 or 2016.
That was 2016. That
Yeah.
just shows your lack of knowledge of tech football. But,
Right.
You had not had a quarterback start all 12 games, and you had some pretty bad names in there. You had some pretty underwhelming performances by certain guys, great guys. They just didn't meet our standard of what we thought Texas Tech quarterback play is and should be. And so when you think about a guy like Behren Morton, what he's been through, being hurt as much as he has, to no fault of his own, and playing through a lot of those injuries, more so maybe in 2022 than even 2023, you've got to give the guy some credit. I mean, and to come out here and play the way he did this year is incredibly impressive, given the circumstances that he's had, which have already been well rehearsed. He would not have gotten this surgery if he was not assured that he would have been the starting quarterback. I really do believe that. I don't think Joey is in the business of giving someone else, I don't think you should lose your job due to injury unless the guy comes in and is Dak Prescott, what he was when he came in for, Tony Romo, and just did not relinquish anything because he played so well. There's numerous examples of that. Tom Brady, different things. I mean, of guys coming in and playing well. That could happen. But granted, again, like you mentioned, it's Arkansas. It's a bowl game. They're losing a lot of people. You're losing a lot of people. Behren Morton has shown me over the course of his career that he can get it done when it matters most. I can give you numerous examples of that. Will Hammond, I believe in Will. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. He showed you a lot during that one half against TCU, but he also almost threw a pick six, and he did also fumble the ball that lost you the game. So if you really want to, I'm not trying to, and I'm not hating on Will for that. I don't blame him. He's an 18-year-old freshman. But the reality of the situation is you really don't know how good Will is, or he isn't, and you're not going to know based on a single bowl game. Again, it's not that I don't believe in Will Hammond. I think Will Hammond, unless he, I mean, if you want to say that, but if he balls out with this situation, with a new offensive court, a new play caller and juice, and like losing a lot of guys that Behren had to play with this year against an SEC defense, then yeah, I mean, I hope he does that. I think that means well for your program. But the problem is Behren has shown you have a larger sample size. Behren has shown he's a very capable player. And I just think that Behren, because of this surgery, even with cramming all these things in, is still going to be the better option for this football team in 2025.
Conrad, I have a fun game. Okay, so I'm gonna say a stat line, and I'm gonna go higher and higher, and you tell me at what point that stat line makes you say that Will Hammond should be the starting quarterback in 2025. So if Will goes for 353, does that do it for you?
No.
454.
No, I'm not backing off this. And my point. Let me.
5.
What'd you say? 550 and 5. Well, yeah, okay, I'll do that. But
okay.
Hey, to play devil's advocate, though,
you got your mark. You got your target. 550 and 5.
Okay, 550 and 5.
Prove it, Will. Prove your worth.
Well, but let me just play devil's advocate for a second, because what did we see Miller Moss do for USC in the bowl game last year?
That's a great
He threw 6 touchdowns. I don't even know how many yards he had, but look at what he turned to be, huh?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah,
look at what he turned out to be. He wasn't great.
That is an excellent point, Conrad. But I think what I'm trying to say here is Will's not winning this job. I mean, okay, if he goes 550 and 5 and looks as good as he looks, I think there will be a serious conversation into the spring amongst the fan base of like, that looked really good. This is not an anti-Behren conversation, what I'm about to say. It's more of a situational thing for Behren. To your point on Brady and Bledsoe. Bledsoe goes out, Brady comes in, early 2000s Patriots, and Brady becomes obviously Tom Brady. But what this situation is it's a throwing shoulder. This is not easy to recover from. It's clearly bothered him since he fell on it against West Virginia a year and a half ago. And he's never been the same quarterback. Behren Morton, for all as good as he's been when he's fully healthy, we've seen him. I think this is correct. I think we've only seen him fully healthy for one half against Oklahoma State. I believe the rest of that season he had his ankle injury. Then he didn't win the job against Shuck. Then Shuck, breaks his leg, and then Behren comes in the same game and hurts his shoulder. We never saw a healthy Behren, and knowing that this year, which it just begs the question: if you've got a guy that can stay fully healthy, that's going to get all the reps, that's going to play, that the coaching staff trust, I don't necessarily think it should just be handed to Behren if he's not ready to go or if the shoulder doesn't recover. That's a big if. If Behren Morton's fully healthy,
he's going to be ready.
Okay. You can be confident in that. I'm just not 100% sure in that. And the situation that's presenting itself is Will Hammond with a new offensive coordinator and new offensive staff and players for that part, getting a ton of reps between now and August. And if you get to August and Behren Morton comes in and he's gotten that quick 30 days before the first game of the year against Kent State, and he's not looking great, or he's just not able to get the confidence and the connection with some of his receivers and that staff, it's just a question you're going to have to ask if you're Joey McGuire. I just don't think with where the situation's at, you can just hand it to him based off prior performance. Is Behren Morton the best quarterback you've had in 8+ years? Sure. But again, that's not saying a ton, not to discredit Behren, but it's not like Behren Morton has gone out there and you went 10-2, 11. Like, he didn't necessarily just show you that he is, one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the conference. And if
the amount of teams that would like him, if I could list you I think it would be 70+ teams in FBS that would rather have Behren Morton than the guy they trotted out there. 70+, okay. Maybe 75+.
I have a question in the Big 12. So let's talk about returning 2025 Big 12 quarterbacks and where you would rank Behren. So I think the guys that you would consider maybe above him or around his tier. I think you got Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson, probably Brendan Sorsby, Sam Levitt,
Jalen Daniels, maybe
Jalen Daniels. I don't think Jake Retzlaff is better than Behren. The Devin Dampier kid that's going to be at Utah, I just think he's a little bit unproven lower level, but he is athletic. He brings kind of an interesting dynamic. Connor Wiegman, I think, is probably at least sort of in the conversation, kind of. Whoever Oklahoma State's trotting out. But I think where do you rank him in returning quarterbacks in the Big 12? Where does he fall for you?
Brendan, I'll let you answer first. Since you want to put him. So I want you to let our listeners know how lowly you think of Behren. So
Avery Johnson.
Okay, and here's the point, Conrad, that I'm making. I'm not saying that Behren is not an effective quarterback, but the fact that Zyler's naming all of those names, and I'm not going, Behrens better than them. Behrens better than them. Like, automatically, he's very serviceable. He's a good quarterback. He is not necessarily a game changer. All that we're hearing from, I'm not saying this myself necessarily, but what we're hearing about Will Hammond is that the dude is a gamer. He's a game changer, and we saw a half. So I'm not trying to overblow what we've seen and say, like, give him the job. I'm just saying the situation is presenting itself with this news that Will Hammond might win the job, and that Behren Morton isn't necessarily Cam Ward, where you're just going to hand him the job. He's not a Heisman finalist quarterback. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Behren hasn't earned the right to necessarily just give up his job because he was out with surgery.
Can you imagine how bad it would be for your football program if Will Hammond won? Like, it'd be good for Will. Like, let's just say he wins the job. Like, whatever happens, he's your starting quarterback next year, game 1. Let's just play that out hypothetically. And then Will Hammond falls into the dark death trap of Texas Tech quarterbacks from the past and gets hurt in game 1 or 2.
Yeah. You are
and then Behren Morton, because he finds out in the summer that he's not going to get the job because of Will. Will's looked fantastic. Again, nothing against Behren, but let's just play this out because Will has looked so good. And Joey and Coach Leftwich are like, yeah, we got to go with Will. Okay, that's great on one hand, but then he gets hurt. Who you throwing out there then?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
okay.
Lloyd. I mean,
if you are going to do that, you hope that conversation is not had till after the spring transfer portal window closes, and that there's really no option but to stay on the team. I don't think
Behren lets that happen. I don't think he lets that happen. I don't think Barron's dumb.
I think
I'm not saying
Joey
you thought he was.
Shouldn't do that. I don't think if you think for whatever reason the freshman's the quarterback and you've got a guy in his last year of eligibility, you should absolutely let him know that. Don't let him burn on the bench. That would be for all parties involved. I think that's how it should go. But you may just not know. You need probably for your quarterback room, you need Behren to be the starter. I think I agree with Brennan though. I think Behren is in pole position. He's got a huge head start, but he is like the coordinator has built up absolutely zero equity with Behren on the field right now. He has never seen him throw in a Texas Tech jersey while he's been the coach. And I mean, how is he going to develop rapport and confidence? I know it's not all on the field. Like you're doing a lot of film study and doing those things. That is just going to be a lot for Behren to cram in. He's going to have a ton to do. I think he's still in pole position. I still think it's more likely than not he's your starting quarterback. But if I had to say, if you told me the odds of him starting next year, like I say, it's like 65%. That's kind of where I come in. Maybe even lower than that. Maybe even 60.
Conrad?
But
I mean, it's zooming out. It's a great problem to have, right? You've got two guys you believe in. I obviously believe in Behren more than anybody on this podcast because I keep seeing the number 3,300 yards.
That's not what we're saying.
No, I know you do.
like
I
Behren.
just believe in him more. I think I believe in him more than anybody. I mean, granted, I forget, but wasn't Behren Morton a higher rated recruit for you than Will Hammond? Didn't we talk about that in a previous episode? Yeah, he was. So I'm not saying Behren looked as good as Will had as Will
how
did
many
when he got
yards
here.
did Behren throw for in his true freshman season?
It was very minimal. He completed one pass. He was 1 of 3, took 1 sack. I forget who it was against, but yeah, it wasn't a great true freshman season. But he also didn't.
Oh, so Behren didn't throw an absolute piss missile against UNT, just like right through the safeties like Will did. Is that what you're saying, Zyler?
Listen,
who do you throw
I
that
want to
to?
make my position very clear. I like Behren a lot. I would love, in my ideal world, is that he gets to start all of 2025 and Will gets to develop. I think the circumstances are playing against him in a significant way. It is not an indictment from me on Beren's ability.
Yes.
I think he has some hurdles to overcome that are not necessarily his fault. New coordinator, missing all of the spring. Those are basically the two things.
And I double down on that completely.
No, I think Brennan's a little bit more pro Will Hammond than pro Behren.
I do like Will's rushing ability. That is something that can't be understated, and it helps in Leftwich's offense.
I just want everyone to know that I am not trying to discredit what Behren Morton has done and what season he had on a bum shoulder in 2024. I am not saying
with a bad offensive line.
Sure. But all I'm saying is that with what the program has said about Will, what the situation has now presented to Will into spring, into summer, into the bowl game, it is not a guarantee. And you do not know what will happen to Beren's shoulder. That is all I'm saying. If Behren Morton is 100% healthy, do I think he will be your starter come August? Yes. Would I be okay with that? Yes. I just do not necessarily think that is a guarantee at this point, based on him having to have this surgery and what the situation as a whole has now been essentially given to Will for the next 6 months. Whether you can say this is Beren's team, for the next 6 months, it's not. For the next 6 months, Will Hammond is QB1 when it comes to practice and spring game and developing with the new offense and the new offensive coordinator. That's just a fact. It doesn't mean that he will become August, but it means that he's that until July.
To Beren's credit, I think there's a really good chance our offense struggles a ton. I mean, I think you've got juice in coordinating the game for Arkansas. Not that that's a bad thing. I just don't know that he's ever called a game. You're probably not going to have Taj and Kelly. I mean, I don't know why they would play. They've got the NFL to get ready for. You're missing tackles. Like, there's a chance Will looks terrible in this game. And I think that would – or he doesn't.
Or with all that against him, he goes out and just says, nah.
The cream rises to the top. But, that would be the thing – to keep the fan base not so angsty, because the first incompletion that Behren throws against Kent State or whatever it is, it's like bring in Will. That's what you're going to hear if Will's been balling out. I kind of hope he just has I don't know. I don't know what I want to happen. I want him to ball out, but I also don't want it to be so. I don't want it to create this massive controversy. Yeah, that's what I don't want.
We are doing that right now.
But that's our job, and maybe that's how we can
putting out the fire.
Yeah, maybe that's how we can close the show with a question: Is this controversy going to be inevitable for the spring? Like, is this just a big fire that's now happening because you can't control it now? Like we've known that Behren was going to be out for a little bit now. When Will came in and Behren had some lulls and the offense had some lulls, I mean, we heard it all year. We heard fire Kitley, put in Will. Like,
oh yeah,
it already took place this season,
and we will hate Will 2 seasons from now. And we're like, bring in Chubba. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah, like it's always going to happen. But with how this situation is, it is now an organic change into spring and summer and possibly 2025. It's not the controversy will be if Behren plays well, oh crap, who do you start? But for now, there really isn't any, but it will start. You can't avoid the conversation now because it's arrived. It has in unfortunate circumstances, but it's here.
Okay, I'm going to list quarterbacks, and I want you to tell me, would you take Behren over this quarterback for, let's say, generic team, regardless of scheme? Let's kind of remove all of that. So if you Sawyer Robertson or Behren?
Sawyer Robertson.
Behren Morton. I'm dead serious. I've seen 6 good games from Sawyer Robertson. 6.
Josh Hoover or Behren Morton?
Behren Morton.
I'm going to go Behren Morton.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jalen Daniels or Behren Morton?
Behren Morton.
Which Jalen Daniels am I getting?
Exactly. Am I getting Jalen Daniels?
Healthy Behren, or do you get injured Behren that we've had for basically the entire time we've had him?
Injured Behren, 27 touchdowns, 8 picks, 3,300 yards. Not bad for me.
Okay. Rocco Becht.
Rocco Becht.
I'll take Behren. Did Rocco even throw more than 20 touchdowns this year? I don't think he did.
He did.
Avery Johnson or Behren Morton?
I will say I was very disappointed with Avery Johnson this season compared to what they built him up to be. I would actually go Behren Morton there.
Conrad?
I believe that football players on the field should be men, and therefore I will take Behren Morton. You're right over there, Brennan.
That's the longest answer you've given this whole segment. Okay. Sam Levitt or Behren Morton?
Sam Levitt, dude.
I'd have to go Sam Levitt because he won a Big 12 title and played so well.
Conrad was
I actually like Behren more than Sam.
Oh, dude, I was sitting next to Conrad at the Big 12 championship game. If he said Behren, he'd be lying because we were both super impressed with Sam Levitt at that game. He balled out.
I do not. I think Sam is a Cam Scattaboo merchant, but we'll see. Okay, Brendan Sorsby or Behren Morton?
Behren Morton.
Behren Morton.
Okay. I don't think there's any other quarterbacks that would necessarily be in the conversation unless I'm forgetting somebody.
Connor Wegman or Behren Morton. I'll take Behren Morton all day.
I take Behren too.
I take Behren.
I would take.
And see, to this game we're playing, it's not that Behren is I'm not trying to sit here and say that Behren Morton is a bottom half Big 12 quarterback.
No, he's definitely
I'm not saying that. I'm just, and I do think that Behren has shown through injury, and he's very tough. I think that's one thing we've learned about this kid too, right? Totally. He's a tough kid. You might not notice that as much when you're on the field. He doesn't look necessarily physically intimidating, but he's played through injury. He did what was right by the team. He did develop into a good leader this year. I think the team really liked being around Behren. He seems like he's just great. He loves the university. There's nothing about Behren that I dislike other than he doesn't respond to my text messages. But outside of that, I really liked the kid, and he was nice when he was nice to me in person. But I just think the situation is going to be different this offseason. And you're right. And also credit to Jake Strong. This kid was thrown into the fire, last year against BYU, and he was obviously
couldn't handle it.
Sure, he couldn't. But he was a true freshman. For him to enter the portal, but is going to stay to be there if you need him. You know, we
100%.
saw Luick Fonji do that last year.
High character guy.
Yeah, high character. And I played golf with Jake Strong before for a hole when he let me play through him and Jason Llewell, and really nice kid. You know, so yeah, I appreciate Jake doing that as well too. And I think that shows the culture of this program. The fact that Joey says, "Hey, you're leaving, great. We'd love to have you until the season's officially over." And some of these kids do that. And
Yeah.
I think that shows how much they love
Amazing.
being around Joey and what Joey is able to do for this culture. But ultimately, it's, you know, better for their career if they move on, and that's fine. So
And finish the job with your teammates. Like, finish the season.
Yeah.
You know, you went to war with those guys for 12 months.
Absolutely.
I'm not opposed to writing Jake Strong a fat little NIL check and having him stick around at least for the spring.
yeah, honestly, I mean, you might need him to.
Truly.
You know,
He'd be the second best quarterback on your roster by a mile.
Yeah.
The only kid that I've heard that we may be adding, you know, there's a local product that is rumored to be added to the roster. I don't know if any of that's been finalized yet, so I don't want to, you know, ruin that kid's moment or anything. But, you know, hopefully we got to add arms. I mean, you don't have all your walk-ons and PWOs have transferred out because of the scholarship reductions going down to 105, or not scholarships, but roster spots. So those walk-on kids that are great for throwing against, you know, in practice drills and things like that. You have one quarterback on your roster right now for spring of 25. You need like 3.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam Brown, don't
Hey,
leave.
To McGuire's credit, this will help a lot. If you're selling a potential job to a transfer quarterback, this is a lot more exciting. You know, hey, listen, you're slotting in immediately as the number 1 or potentially number 2. You can go compete out here for a backup. Like, I think that's way more enticing than, hey, here's Behren Morton with, you know, 27 touchdowns, all these yards, and our stud redshirt freshman. Do you want to come in here and ride the bench? Like, now you can at least
Right.
sell
That's a
a
good
lot of
point.
live practice reps, and I think that helps a little bit. I think ultimately at the end of the day, playing time in NIL is going to win the day. But
Yeah.
man, this is going to be a tough situation for Joey. I will be interested to see how you manage this. All the great coaches have to manage QB controversies at some point. I think this will eventually develop into a controversy.
I think it's
how
here.
Joey handles that, it's just going to be interesting. And then we are going to see Will Hammond December 27th, and then we will not see a Tech quarterback live until, you know, late August. So we're going to have 8 months to pour over basically one performance and decide, you know, what's going to actually happen here. So
And we'll be here for it. We will be here for it all. So, Conrad,
we will.
final thoughts on Behren and Will and this whole situation, and anything you want to say as we close the show. Oh,
before you close, Conrad, I want you to give percentages, who you think the starting quarterback is, and how confident you are as of right now on, you know, September 1st or whatever our first day of kickoff is. You know, give me your odds.
Yeah, I'll say it'll be 80%. I'm confident that it'll be Behren Morton. 20% Will Hammond, and I'm 100% confident that's how it's going to play out. I do think, again, this is a fantastic problem to have, right? I'd rather be us than someone else. We've got 2 guys that are fantastic, that are very good players for you. They're going to help you win a lot of games. Beren's already done that. Will's going to do that in the future. Believe in both those guys. I think this is a good sign for your program that you have 2 excellent quarterbacks. First of all, I wish Behren well. I hope he gets healthy quickly. Hope he, you know, enjoys this time, kind of recuperating, having your body fully healthy come next July. I think it's going to be a big moment for him too, because he's had a bunch of nicks and bruises. So again, I think it's going to be good to see what that looks like for him. But I can't wait to see how good Will looks in the bowl game and in spring practice, and how people just flock to him. I mean, I truly believe that. And so it's going to be an interesting component, interesting offseason. But again, I believe in Behren Morton. He's shown me what I need to see, and I think he's only going to get better. And I also believe in Will Hammond. So I love having both those guys on your team. I'm really glad they're Red Raiders, and hoping that it stays that way next year and in the years to come. So bummed for Behren, but glad he's getting healthy, and really excited for Will to have this opportunity as well.
Yeah, and Conrad, you know, your love for Behren runs deep, and I think it's great. And your love for this university is great too. And I don't want there to be any controversy between me and you, man. On, you know, it seems like you've pegged me the Will versus Will, you know, Will Hammond homer, and you're the Behren guy, and Zyler's kind of here mediating us. And if that's where it has to go, it has to go. And it looks like that opportunity might be coming up. But I'm excited to see what this does, you know, do for your offense. and for what Will Hammond might be able to show, just a different dynamic than Behren as well. It'll be just curious to see in the bowl game because he's going to be scrambling a lot. Like, I think even with Arkansas transferring guys, like, I don't know who's playing offensive line for. You might have some true freshmen. I mean, Ponton might be starting at left tackle. It's going to be fun to watch. So, anyway, Z, any final thoughts here as we get ready to watch Will Hammond here against Arkansas in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I just had one video clip I wanted to share with everybody. I think this will be something that's near and dear to everybody's heart. Just kind of a play that came to me. Wow, look at that deep ball. Just right on the money.
Oh, wow. Will.
What a touchdown.
What? Dude, you got the read option by chance that he made it too?
Oh,
I mean,
yes, it is.
yeah,
It is.
if
It's
if
coming
that's
up.
on there,
I'll
that
pull
would
it
be
up.
great as well too. And I hope our listeners know we love this university. We love the football team as well. We don't wish any ill will on Behren or anybody. We're just here to kind of give some thoughts on what is what's transpiring within the organization. If that means that Will Hammond is a stud and can throw beautiful fade passes into the end zone to Coy like this, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, that's great too. And if you can run a little read option and use his legs, that's going to be great for your program as well. So yeah, here it is right here. Yep. Oof.
Beautiful.
Look at that little juke cut. And
Hey, how about that uniform combination, by the way?
Honestly, a great combo for the team.
Yeah.
that's
It's
good stuff.
fantastic.
I
We're
like
not going
it.
to
Guys,
finish the rest of this game, oddly enough. So we're just
No,
gonna
I think
stop.
the game ended there, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah,
what
that's
Will
actually
did.
ended.
I can't remember what Will did in the fourth quarter of that game, but just those plays escape my mind a little bit. But I just remember those two specifically. So
I did, I was doing a little film scouting and I was looking at some local guys, and I thought there's, maybe a gentleman that we should look at adding to the roster. I'm gonna pull up his film right now. This is a guy.
wait, is it on mute? Can you get?
Hold on, let me. This is a guy that we saw a video of, and I think you got to at least give him a chance. Joey, if you're out there,
That guy
look at
looks a
this
lot
guy.
like Conrad. Look,
Wow, off the
Boom.
goalpost.
look at that
Hey,
arm
you know how many?
talent, man.
That was the first try.
Where'd
I
you
probably
throw
had
that
not
from? Was
thrown
that
a
from the
football
20?
in
Did you
over
throw
a
that
year.
30 yards on a line.
Yeah.
Let's watch it again. Let's look at the form.
Look at the cannon, just the release.
Wow,
Golly.
up
Like
high.
he just
Golly.
the Jordan
Joey, if you're
shrug at
watching,
the
get
end.
this guy.
Yeah,
Get
if you're
this guy.
watching on YouTube, or if you're not watching on YouTube, Conrad just threw an absolute bullet on the field at AT&T Stadium against the goalpost, and that happened about a week ago. So, Conrad, you've got 4 years to go get your master's, man, and go get to fall camp. You can do some live reporting for the Broadway Shuffle from camp.
That would be
Joey,
so
if you're
funny.
listening, I'm cheap. I promise I'm cheap. I'm not expensive. I'd really like to be on the field at some point. Like I just want to practice with the team. Put me on the, I don't even have to be on the, I don't even have to travel with the team. Nothing. I want to stand there and report live for the Broadway Shuffle, Pat McAfee style. I'll come throw Pat and goes for you in practice. I really don't want to get hit by any of the dudes you're bringing in, because they would absolutely snap my twig self in half. And it'd be terrible. But if you need somebody to throw routes on air, 7-on-7, I'm your guy. 5'10". I don't even know what I weigh, but I'm a lot heavier than I was in high school, but I can definitely, throw the ball around a little bit too. So Joey, please give me a chance, at least for a YouTube video. Come on. At least for a YouTube video. Let us film with you.
What a
So
cannon
you never know. I mean, it's here.
Okay, well,
Good stuff.
great stuff, guys. Well, we'll be here as this is our second reaction video of the day. Like, we think we're going to take a break, but Texas Tech football, it's a season of giving, and they just keep on giving us news. It's fantastic.
I know. And right before this, they added a defensive tackle in the portal. And, shout out to all the reporting at Red Raider Sports. It looks like you're going to be adding some offensive tackles here pretty soon. So if you're not a subscriber over at Red Raider Sports, go ahead and hop on that if you want to get portal breaking news. But yeah, the content never stops.
Yeah, and we'll be here for it all. We can't promise you we'll do a reaction to every video, but if you weren't able to check out our reaction from this morning, it's kind of an overview of what the portal's been to this point. Go check that out on our YouTube channel. If you're listening to your podcast on Apple or Spotify, we appreciate your support as well. But give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, or wherever you get your podcast for all the latest news, and then some special interviews we've got coming up. We tease it on our morning show. I'll tease it again. It'll be a current player that will be on your roster next season that we feel pretty confident will make another massive impact in 2025. We look forward to hearing from him, learning about him and his path to becoming a Red Raider and what he has for us next season as well. So we'll have that to you on Monday morning. But other than that, we appreciate you. And just stay alert. That's all I got to say. There's news coming in every hour. But we wish Behren Morton the best, and we wish him a speedy recovery, and look forward to watching Will against Arkansas. So for Conrad and Zyler, we're missing Clayton, but we'll catch him on Monday. And Reckham Tech, man, hey, well, you never know what's coming in portal season, man. It's here, and I can't wait. So Reckham, and we'll see y'all guys next time.
Thanks, Brennan.
See you guys next time.